keys to victory for Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford for their September 13th fight, which is tomorrow. So I'll be going over points that I think each fighter will need to do to win this fight. Starting off with Terence Crawford, I would say the number one most important thing I feel like he needs to do is get Canelo's respect early. Because if he can't get Canelo's respect early, this fight could turn into a very similar fight to the Jamel Charlo fight, where Crawford's just put into a box. He can't really do too much offensively because he's just getting walked down by Canelo and he's in fear of Canelo's power. And I just really hope that doesn't happen, because that wasn't a very good fight to watch. So that, to me, is probably the most important thing. He needs to hit Canelo with something that doesn't necessarily knock him down or even badly hurt him, but something that's going to show Canelo that you can't just walk in here and, like, with no regard for my power and do whatever you want. You know, you're going to have to be cautious of what's coming back at you. And when that happens to a fighter, they're a lot more tentative. Their offense doesn't flow as well as it normally would, because they're not fearful, but they're, wary of what's coming back at them. So I think that's probably very important for Crawford to do. The second most important thing is Crawford's footwork and how he needs to use the ring, try to not get trapped on the ropes or in the corner where Canelo can set his feet and really let his power shots go. And we did see in some moments in the Errol Spence fight where Terence Crawford was trapped on the ropes, but he fought off very well on the ropes. But I don't think he wants to be doing that against someone like Canelo Alvarez. It's just not a good idea. He's not got the sort of defense that Floyd Mayweather has, where he can lay on the ropes and roll his shoulder and pick shots off and land back. That's something that very few fighters can do, and only the great defensive fighters. And Crawford, as great of a fighter he isn't that great of a defensive fighter that he wants to be fighting a large majority of this fight off the ropes. One other key to victory for Terence Crawford would be his jab. If you actually look at the two guys that beat Canelo, they were able to establish their jabs against him. And the sort of, not problem for Crawford, but he's a southpaw. It's a lot harder to establish that jab as a southpaw. When you're an orthodox fighter, it's a lot more easier. So I don't really know how that plays into Crawford's game plan. He does have a very good right hook, and if Canelo's coming forward very aggressively, he can use that to kind of halt the aggression, and that allows you to then obviously dictate the fight. You know, if you're able to control the pace of Canelo, and it kind of links into the first key to victory, which is to get Canelo's respect. Because if you don't get Canelo's respect and you don't, establish your jab, or at least the right hook as he's coming in, he then dictates the pace of the fight. And when your opponent's dictating the pace of the fight, you're the one who becomes tired, right? You basically become in reaction to them. So yeah, those are some keys to victory for Crawford. I mean, I'm doing this just right off the top of my head, so I might actually switch back to Canelo and go through some of his keys of victory. And the first one that obviously comes to mind is cutting off the ring. Canelo Alvarez throughout his career has sometimes really struggled to cut off the ring. I mean, the Floyd Mayweather fight, it was just horrendous, and that's not a real criticism of Canelo, because up to that point, Canelo was actually a boxer puncher. I mean, because he's a Mexican fighter, everyone has a perception that he came out like some traditional Mexican pressure fighter like Julio Cesar Chavez, but Canelo is actually much more of a patient boxer, especially early in his career. And then as he kind of moved through the weight classes and got to 168, he then became a pressure fighter. And he has gotten better at cutting off the ring, although he didn't do it great against Floyd Mayweather or even Arislandi Lara. When he fought against guys like Billy Joe Saunders, he was a lot better. And even Jamel Charlo, I think he cut off the ring pretty well in that fight, even though it was a fight where Jamel Charlo didn't give him much back. But he sometimes can fall into the autopilot of walking forward in straight lines, Canelo, and not really cutting that ring off and trapping his opponents on the ropes. So that's definitely something I feel like he needs to do. He can't let Crawford sort of dictate where this fight's going to take place. And, you know, cutting off the ring will help Canelo to do that. The other point that really sticks out to me, and it kind of links into what happened to Crawford in the Jose Benavidez fight. In the Jose Benavidez fight, Terence Crawford got hit with a body shot. I can't remember which round it was, but he was hurt by that body shot. A lot of people probably watched that fight and wouldn't recognize it, but I can tell you for a fact, Crawford was hurt by that body shot from Jose Benavidez, who's a 147 pounder. I mean, he is the brother of David Benavidez, but actually Jose Benavidez started his career off at 140 pounds. So if he's able to hurt Crawford with a body shot, if Canelo can land to the body, it's going to be interesting to see how Crawford reacts to that. And Canelo is a good body puncher. The problem for Canelo is he often neglects the body, and he has a lot of success to the head that he almost forgets about it. So I think Canelo needs to target that body. Obviously, there's a way of going about that at this level in boxing. You don't want to make it so obvious that your game plan is to go after Crawford's body, because if you make that intention very clear in the early rounds, Crawford will catch on to that and he will know to look out for it, and it just takes away all of the surprise element that makes you land your punches. Another point for Canelo is I don't think he can wait for the perfect shot. He's the bigger guy. He's got to impose his size on Crawford. If he can hit him in the elbows and the shoulders, you know, in the Mayweather fight, he even tried to hit him in the thigh, you know, but all of that stuff at 168 pounds, just making Crawford feel that size. And the reason I say this is if you go back to the Israel Madrimov fight and you watch the post-fight interview of Terence Crawford, I've never seen him in that state. And I mean, obviously it was the first time he'd gone 12 rounds in a while, because Terence Crawford knocked out everyone he fought at welterweight and was on quite a large knockout streak. But he had this like he wasn't exhausted, but he was out of breath to the extent where it was like you could see those extra 7 pounds and being in there with the bigger guy took something out of him. And that's Madrimov. Madrimov isn't as big as Canelo. So Canelo wants to use his size. He wants to impose his size. He wants to hit Crawford wherever he can, because that's going to allow him to wear him down later on in the fight. The other, probably the most important, I mean, there are quite a few that Canelo has, but one that I would say is very important is land the right hand on Crawford, because Terence Crawford has been so susceptible to the right hand. I mean, he got hit with the right hand against Gamboa, he got hit with the right hand against Kaviaskis, and both of those guys hurt him. Sean Porter landed the right hand on him. So many fighters have been able to land the right hand on Crawford, and the ironic thing about all of this is Crawford's best defensive performance is against the southpaw, where the straight right hand no longer comes into effect. But against guys who are orthodox like Canelo is, and obviously Crawford fights from a southpaw stance, the Achilles heel for most southpaws is a straight right hand, and Crawford's no different, you know. And if all of those guys were able to land right hands on Crawford, I think Canelo's going to be able to land his right hand. And with the size of Canelo, we just don't know how Crawford's going to react to that. So yeah, those were the keys to victory. I probably gave more for Canelo than I gave for Crawford, as this fight is basically 24, 30, probably 36 hours away. I'm actually leaning more towards Canelo now. I mean, I know I put a prediction video out where I said I think Crawford will win on points, but now I'm thinking about it, and even the last few days in fight week, I don't know, I find myself maybe leaning back towards Canelo. When it was initially announced, I thought it was a mismatch. I thought Canelo was going to beat him, but then watched a few of Canelo's performances against Belanga and against John Ryder and against Munguia, and I was like, I mean, Crawford, you're going to have to be better than that against Crawford to beat him, even though those guys are a lot bigger than Crawford. But then you think about it, Crawford, he's been out of the ring now for a year. He's 37 years old. He's moving up 2 weight classes. I mean, really 3 weight classes. So, yeah, I'm finding myself maybe leaning more back towards Canelo, but I'm going to stick with my original pick. But yeah, what a victory will be for Crawford. I'm going to put out another video about, hopefully I'm going to put out another video about Terence Crawford. And, you know, there's quite a big divide amongst boxing fans. Some people think he's overrated and his resume isn't that great. And there's other people who are putting him down as an all-time great and one of the greatest fighters ever. So I'm going to put out another video, and that kind of will link into my thoughts about why I'm not as confident of picking Crawford. I'm even tempted to switch over to Canelo, because you just think, like, are we overrating Crawford? Because, I mean, the reason I think people are picking Crawford here is they rate him so highly that he's like this Sugar Ray Leonard level fighter, or Sugar Ray Robinson level fighter. But, you know, tomorrow will prove a lot. I think we learn more about Crawford and Canelo. I mean, I think we already know where Canelo is and where he stands in history. He's a tremendous fighter. He's one of the best of this generation and an all-time great. You know, with the wins he's had in the weight classes he's dominated. You look at other guys who are called all-time greats and they've done less than him. So, but with Crawford, you know, I mean, if he pulls this off, and especially if he does it in a good manner, I think that closes all the debate about Crawford being overrated. But I guess we'll find out. Yeah, stay tuned for that video, because I'm going to try to put that out as well. Hopefully tonight. If not, maybe tomorrow before the fight.